Now, the rumor was, and I don't even know how the hell this rumor gets any validation. I don't know. The rumor on X is that 400 million ounces were requesting delivery. Now, there's not even, that's way more than there's on in the registered category. Not sure where that rumor is coming from. One big Asian trader said, I want 400 million ounces. All I can tell you is this, that these rumors, a lot of them lack substantiation, and a lot of them may be just, you know, just that, a rumor. But I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And the way that I would break it down is that at that level, you're seeing shortages and strain in the system. And rehypothecation in London will be the death of them. And, you know, it's true. Big money is I think for the first time understanding that physical possession is the way to go, getting it off of the exchanges, taking possession, buying it, and standing for delivery. This is what's different about this market. Nobody stood for delivery my whole career, and now
Right.
you're seeing it every single month. And I guess the exclamation point to me is that the amount of metal coming into COMEX every single month, it's different when I say the central banks around the world. People kind of lacks it lacks the oomph because it's not happening here. When I tell you it's 4 feet of snow in Death Valley in July, what's happening on COMEX right now, we've never seen these kind of deliveries, and the lack of any questioning it, you know, by any of the mainstream is crazy to me, unless it's all by design, because it's very, very, very unusual, and it should be front and center news. Because
Mhm.
what does it really mean when you're seeing this kind of volume of gold and silver, the antithesis to the dollar? What does it really mean when the biggest money in the United States is doing that and no one's asking who it is?
Right.
So
So
to me, it means
so
a lot. In London, it's believed to be between 4 and 500 to 1. Um, Number of contracts issued versus bars available. And you can look at right now, there's 45 million ounce free float. Say there's 700 million ounces in the LBMA, in the London market, of which over 500 of it, 550, belong to the ETFs, largely SLV. So that leaves about 140, 150 million ounces that is supposedly called the float, which is debatable as well based upon what's happened recently. But if we take it at face value, there's 2 billion ounces in contracts out there that could stand for delivery against 140 to 150 million ounces there. Doesn't add up at all. And so it's, the rumor has been between 3 and 400 paper contracts for every 1 ounce, but who really knows? A lot. Shanghai, it's the opposite. So if you want to buy a bar and do something in Shanghai, first of all, it's largely cash and carry. Here's your money, here's your bar.
mhm.
But first, in order to trade on the Shanghai Exchange, you have to buy a bar from one of the handful of pre-approved deposit or refineries. Then they laser inscribe the certificate number that you will possess on the bar,
On the bar.
1 to 1. And so it's a, that's the thing. You know, so much of what I see, Adam, in this world right now centers around lack of trust. Whether you're talking our institutions, the judicial system, the Federal Reserve, our politicians, our banks, our treasury market, our dollar, fiscal irresponsibility, everything. No one trusts anyone. What's going on in the repo market right now? The banks don't trust each other, or they don't trust the collateral. It's trust, and I think what you know, what these markets are doing here in the West is losing trust based upon those kind of perceptions of rehypothecation, of servers going out, of all of these things. It lacks trust, and there will come a point, I think, where trust is broken and not repairable. You have institutions like the Shanghai Metals Exchange who's waiting for the opportunity to be the price setting mechanism of the
Mhm.
world. And they have done it in a way that inspires legitimacy. Granted, yeah, it's in China. Who trusts China? Well, who trusts us? And if you have a market where the bar is laser inscribed with your certificate, well, that's a good start.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where we're going, and away from the futures exchange into a cash and carry exchange. And that's the way most of them are set up in Dubai and in St. Petersburg and in Moscow and in, you know, in Singapore. They're cash and carry markets, less futures markets. Price has been suppressed for so long, and then you get it. So look at it this way. I kind of look at the why more than the what, right? The what is, yes, silver's been suppressed, but why? Why do Western banks have eight Western banks maintained the largest concentrated short position in the history of 1,000+ commodities traded, the largest ever on the exchange? Why? Why would they have this massive short position in silver? Because it's worth more than the dollar value or the dollars used to purchase it would imply. And for many reasons, whether it's a military industrial complex or not, the point I'm getting at is that they've exerted an awful lot of effort to keep the price of silver, the lid upon it. And I've said for years, the last several years, the countries around the world have become sophisticated and coordinated and wealthy and motivated. And they understand that the key to this, the glitch in the system, is the delivery mechanism. It's kind of like the first Star Wars, where there was that one little hole in the Death Star.
Yeah.
No one thought about it. Well, no one thought that the delivery mechanism would be the death of the system. If you don't allow delivery, you don't have a futures market. So they did it, and it never was exploited until now. And the ability to naked short something when you can stand for delivery and the entities taking the other side are as wealthy and sophisticated as you are, you got a problem. These countries weren't when these exchanges were founded, and through all the way up till recently, these countries had no desire to challenge the West at all. And this is how you beat them, using their own markets and their own rules against them. And you see one of these banks fail to deliver, well, that will have a reverberation through the entire ecosystem, because these banks have their fingers in every pie, not just the metals pie. And it's a scary thing. You could also see one of the banks that have been shorting it forever break ranks and say, look, we can't do this anymore. We're out. Cover their own interests, and then the whole thing starts to spiral. And we're right there. I mean, I do believe we are right there, because these short positions that these banks have, they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars in the case of Bank of America, according to Ed Steer, every dollar that the price goes up. So, yeah, it's a high-stakes game, and they have some real challengers right now. Correct, which then pushes up the price and everyone else starts to cover or gets margin called. Right. That's exactly how it would happen. That's kind of what happened with the London gold pool, that break ranks and then everyone fends for themselves. There was a coordinated effort by all of the Western institutions to do this for a very long time. You listen to a guy like Tom Luongo, and it gets very interesting when you hear his take that, the rumor that Trump is out to get the European aristocrats. And in fact, there was a really interesting article that just came out the other day, and I think it was on Zero Hedge, basically saying that is the case. That's why when President Trump announced the Epstein files would be released, he specifically targeted J.P. Morgan in his speech on this, on his tweet or whatever, saying, they're involved. Well, the article went on to say that what he's doing is akin to what Kennedy tried to do. By issuing the stablecoin bill, you're taking money creation away from the Federal Reserve and giving it back to the Treasury. Very scary. And at the same time, JP Morgan represents the old aristocrat money. And that's why he's going. Now, that's kind of fits what Tom Luongo was saying. He's saying that Trump believes that these entities were involved in any potential election interference in the previous election and or the color revolution, all aimed at Trump. And that's why he said, no, it's about tariffs, bring all the metal back, when it never was about tariffs, to drain the LBMA, to put stress or worse on the Bank of England and all the European banks that are now wickedly short in London. Whereas all the metal that came back, maybe a lot of it was used to cover the actual short positions of the United States banks that are short. When they short in the US, they go long in London, right? That's how they do it, and to offset their balance sheet. So Trump's, threatening tariffs, they're still on the same side, going back and forth. Yeah, we need that metal back to cover these positions, but don't worry, it'll flow back. It's not flowing back. Some did, but it's not. The point of it is that this is deeper than I think we all know, but there are some people like Luongo who has a very interesting take on this, that this is about United States versus the old money, and Trump is trying to undermine them. And when you see him issue the stablecoin bill, which in essence allows the Treasury through the stablecoin issuance to take control of the money. That doesn't make the old money very happy. So could it be? Maybe. I'm just saying you got to kind of think of it all. And it does make sense on some levels, not to go down that rabbit hole, but interesting thought experiment. The people that might be selling, look, in 2021 during Silver Squeeze, you had a gazillion people buying for the wrong reasons. And, you know, January, February, March 2021, we were doing 7, 8, 900 orders a day, most of them very small. Those people are gone, and they got pissed off in a big way because the price collapsed, right? And went from $31. It finally broke 30, and then you get what was his name? The knucklehead. I forget his name, but said we had to tamp down the price of silver. Openly admitted that they had to tamp it down. I think it was at the time the guy that was running the CFTC. Anyways, and then the price collapsed and didn't come back for a few years. Those people bought it for the wrong reason, and they bought it to profit. That's not why you buy gold and silver. Yeah, you may profit very handsomely, but that's not why you buy it. You buy it to get out of the way of what's coming. You buy it to get out of the way of this change that's happening right in front of us. Those people might have sold because they're finally like, I'm so happy to be done with this stuff. But the people who are educated and understand, the people who listen to you, they're not selling. In fact, they're buying because they understand that this is just the very beginning. So yeah, I'm sure there has been some selling, but not something that I think even remotely would identify this market right now. I think it's the opposite of that myself, at least through our client base. Those people that are going to the local coin shop are not coming there with $500,000 in silver. I understand that.
Investor.
I get it. People are saying, oh my God, it's never like, I'll give you an example. I mean, the market is very finicky in the respect that when the price went up for 9 straight weeks in a row, no one called and bitched. No one said anything. And then the price fell below 50 and everything you saw it's never coming back. It's done. It's over. Sell it all. And people start freaking out. My biggest clients, a couple of them would say, what's going on with silver? And I would just chuckle and I would say, but where were you for the last 9 weeks?
Yeah.
But now it's gone right back up again. And so, again, in general, I think that those are the people who see it at all-time highs and look at it as an opportunity to get some cash. And they probably are cash strapped. The people who are buying it for the right reasons, they say there's no bull market like a metals bull market for one reason. And if you understand this, you're not selling. And that is that the higher the price goes, it reinforces your concern for the reasons you bought it to begin with. People who understand that are not selling at all. And when I look at my gold and silver, I don't look at it as something that, I guess it's there for an opportunity too, but I don't look at it as something to cash in on when the price goes up. To me, it's wealth that I hope I never need to use. Right. And most of the people I talk to would say the same thing. You hope you never need to use it. If you do, you're darn glad you have it, not just for an emergency, for an opportunity. But if not, you give it to your kids. And there are very few things you can give to your children that have sentimental and intrinsic value the way that gold and silver does. And I will say this, long after the dollar bills in our wallet are hanging from a frame in the Smithsonian as an example of what used to be, gold and silver will still have value as they have for 5,000 years. And I think you're beginning to see that in the smartest money in the world, the central banks, the commercial banks, and the institutional traders here that are bringing it back. So yeah, there is some of that, let's say, to be fair, but we're not experiencing a lot of it.